You're currently watching the second update on Force 13 over Typhoon Meranti, which is a Category 4 typhoon located in the Western Pacific with winds of 130 miles an hour and a pressure of 937 millibars. It's moving towards the east-northeast at about 15 miles an hour and is located about 700 miles east of the northeastern tip of Luzon. It is expected to continue this east-northeast movement towards Taiwan and probably maintain Category 4 intensity. It could potentially reach weak Cat 5 intensity around Tuesday timeframe, and then make a landfall on the southern tip of Taiwan most likely by Tuesday night or Wednesday around that time frame as a Category 4 typhoon, possibly super typhoon, possibly not. Then it should move on towards China, where it should weaken to a tropical storm over land. It then could have its remnants move towards Japan or South Korea, but at this time it is looking relatively uncertain of what it will do because it's too far out to tell. This is really reminiscent of Typhoon Meranti, which occurred back in early July, about 2 months ago. Except this storm is probably not going to get as strong as Meranti was. Meranti, of course, being a sub-900 super typhoon. And this will probably not get that strong, but it might get close. So that's what's going on with the track. The sea surface temperatures for this storm, not an issue whatsoever. 30 degrees, plenty warm to sustain tropical development. Wind shear is decreasing around the storm. This is from a graphic that was taken 6 hours ago because the graphics were down from the past 3. So this is the most recent one. About 20 knots of shear at this time, but it's lower now because it's lowering at, it appears at 10 knots. So as it moves towards the northeast, it should become much more hospitable for Meranti. Water vapor imagery see extremely moist environment as you would expect for the Western Pacific. And yeah, looking pretty good for Meranti right now. It's debatable whether it's a Category 4 or Category 3 at this time, but I'm leaning towards weak Cat 4. Looking at the computer models, this is the GFS saying that Meranti will be a moderate typhoon as it moves towards Japan, with another storm right behind that. That is 18W, I believe, which could get the name Rai, as it moves probably east of Taiwan and then up the Japanese islands and maybe make a landfall on Kyushu. The ECMWF is saying that we will have a storm probably move closer to Luzon, actually, and then make a landfall pretty close to where Nita did, near Hong Kong. And the storm behind it become a pretty significant typhoon, a bit closer to Taiwan than the GFS was predicting, and then move towards Kyushu rather rapidly. CMC is saying that this storm will be looks like it's going to clip the southern tip of Taiwan as a moderate typhoon, and then the storm behind it will become less strong than what the ECMWF is predicting, but still make landfall in Kyushu. HWRF for Meranti is predicting a pretty strong Cat 4 typhoon, maybe edging on weak Cat 5. If it does become a Category 5 storm, then it will be the 4th so far this year behind Winston, Fontala, and Meranti. It looks like it's barely going to make a landfall on the southern tip, and then move into China, and then off towards the northeast at a rather quick pace. The simulated satellite for the HWRF is predicting a storm with some annular characteristics, and then hitting the southern tip of Taiwan, and then moving off towards the northeast, becoming post-tropical, and this is Rai, what would be Rai, down towards the south of that. Looking at the satellite imagery, you can see that this storm is trying to get an eye formation going. That's been the big issue with the storm, trying to get that eye to pop out and that eye wall to increase. It's looking okay. I've seen better Cat 4s, but, you know, Devin was saying earlier that it was looking rather weak. I'm not entirely sure about that. But the water vapor especially looks like it doesn't look as impressive on this graphic as it did on the other one, but it's still a relatively moist environment for the storm. Yeah, looking rather good for a typhoon. I don't really know about the whole Category 5, if it'll get there or not. That's been a big question that people have been having. If it does, then it does. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. It'll probably peak as a super typhoon, and then it'll fall off from there after its Taiwanese landfall. Another good analog for the storm that I can think of off the top of my head would be Billis of 2005. Billis officially made a landfall as a Category 5. I think it was probably a strong 4 or maybe even a mid-range 4, but I go with the officials, so it was a weak Cat 5. That was the last Cat 5 landfall on the Taiwanese island. Yeah, the cloud tops have been warming ever so slightly than they have been from the past couple of hours, or excuse me, the past several hours, and it's looking like the forward pace is looking to be relatively steady. I don't see really any accelerations or decelerations, if you will, of this storm, and yeah, looking rather good. Cloud tops of at least -80, maybe a little bit warmer than that. So yeah, looking pretty impressive. Meranti is not the only thing going around in the world right now. Oh, excuse me for that. This graphic is a little bit behind because I'm not entirely sure why, but it is. Two of these events have formed. This has become TD8 and this has become TD17. 17 is over here. That's on its way out. I'm not entirely sure on the situation on these two. Farther east, MS 92E, that is now Tropical Storm Orlean. 92L dissipated last I checked. 93L is probably not going to form as it moves towards Florida. And 94L could become our next tropical depression, possibly tonight, possibly tomorrow. It's looking kind of like it has some frontal features, which is not ideal for these storms, but you know, I've seen strange things happen, and it could form. It could form. If it does form, then it would get the name Ian. You can follow Force 13 on any of its outlets, the website force13.com, or its forum. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/force13. Like the Facebook page, Force 13. Follow us on Twitter at Force13, or you can have Full 13 on Skype for tropical weather chat, or join the fans chat room for chat with other fans and members of the team. This has been Hank Dulce of Force 13, signing off.